Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Haolonggood release to take a look at. They've just been pumping model out after model, and we've got another really cool one today. In fact, one of the most exciting so far, I would say, because we've got the Edmontonia, which you can see the species name right there. It is very few and far between when we get an Edmontonia model, so I was definitely hyped for this release because it's a very underrepresented species when it comes to our collecting community. And you can see the box art looks pretty much like it usually does when it comes to a Haolonggood release. Looks really quite nice overall. We've got the image there on the front showing off both different versions of this figure, and you can see again this is basically the back of the box. This would be the front of the box. We also have up here on the top pretty much your standard sort of checklist that you usually get when it comes to Haolonggood. Not really so much a checklist, just basically advertising some of the other releases they have out, all of which we have reviewed here on the channel in the past. So if you are interested in seeing reviews of some of these other figures that you see here, definitely check out the Haolonggood playlist that I have here on the channel, as that would give you all of those reviews. But I'm super hyped to, again, finally have a really cool Edmontonia releasing, so let's pop these boxes open and check them out. So here they are, fresh out of the packaging, still in their little bags. And if we pull them out of their bags, well, they're actually back there pretty far in the bag. There we have our first opportunity, as I almost drop it, to really look at the Edmontonia, and wow, that is really, really beautiful. That is like an absolutely gorgeous sculpt straight off the bat. But the paint apps are really nice as well, and you know, that's something that we at this point come to expect from a Haolonggood release. You always have really nice paint apps. And then we've also got the alternate color variant here that we just need to kind of slide out of the packaging, the little bag. And there we go with the alternate color variant. And I don't know which one I like better, honestly. This one's definitely a toss-up because they both look really beautiful. One thing I can say I like better about this one, I can see they nicely dry brushed the details out there on the face, whereas that's something that this one's kind of lacking. But at the same time, the detail pops nice enough on the face that it didn't necessarily need it. And I also like this one because it has like more like reddish tones, and you know, that's similar to like the coloration that we know Borealis pelta is and stuff. So it's, you know, potentially a color that we could have seen on a species like this, but at the same time I think this as well looks really nice and natural. So either way, I think at this point it is a win-win when it comes to this release. So let's jump to a closer look at both of these right now. So we will begin with the more reddish version, and you can see again straight away it looks epic in the best possible way. We've got a really gorgeous head sculpt right here. You can see all the detail you would like to see. Nice vibrant skin texture there in the face. You've also got a really nicely painted eye, very small but painted with a blue and a black pupil. For how small that eye is, it is as perfectly painted as it could possibly get. As you lead up here toward the snout, you can see we have a darkening of the coloration there, especially on the tip of the beak of our Edmontonia. You can definitely pick out the nostrils and everything right there. The sculpt and detail on this is honestly phenomenal considering its size. You've got really nice looking skin texture there on the top of the head. You can also see more of those kind of reddish or almost pinkish sort of tones up here on the top of the head. Also some other variations of colors that we can see there, kind of like brown spots, red spots, all kinds of random coloration has been applied to just give it a little extra coloration throughout. As you lead back here into the neck, you see that the armored areas start to pick up, and look at how nicely they've been painted. They've really beautifully applied some very dark browns to quite a few of those areas, and definitely applied some really nice coloration in general. They've dry brushed some of the detail out as well very nicely, and really making that detail pop. Absolutely gorgeous paintwork on this Edmontonia. As you lead back here into the spikes on the side of the dinosaur, you can see again they start out with kind of like a dark brown and transition out to a lighter tone, almost similar to like, has kind of like a mixture of like an off-white and then some somewhat pinkish tones. And the detailing in those as well is really well done. You can see lots of really nice kind of cracks and crevices within the spikes leading out. Really gorgeous paintwork everywhere. As you continue to move along, it continues to look beautiful. Same style of paintwork where we have the darker browns, and as the spikes here kind of decrease in size and just kind of turn back into the armored sort of scoots we see through the course of the figure, you can see that we still continue to have those brownish tones applied to those areas as well. And as you lead up here to the back of the dinosaur, look at how nice that scale detail looks. That is as vibrant as detail could possibly get. Each and every scale just pops on the sculpt here. And you can see again as we move through, we have the nice light, almost like pinkish tones here on the back of the dinosaur, but you also have again mixtures of like orangish or reddish to almost like a red-orange spots as well as brown spots and stuff. Definitely quite a bit of color added here to the back of the Edmontonia. And then as we move back up here and lead down into the leg, you can see the leg looks really nice. You can really see the structure as well as the muscle definition of the leg here. Also some nice color variation as you have some of those like reddish tones there. You can see more of the browns and everything within, and we darken nicely to a dark brown here for the foot, and you can also see the nails are painted with kind of like a light gray. The foot is clearly lifting up off of the ground as the Edmontonia is about to take a step forward. You've got some nice skin wrinkles and stuff as you move up here into the side of the stomach, as well as some more skin wrinkles as you move back here right in front of the thigh as the leg is taking a step forward, kind of pushing into the stomach. Definitely some very nice attention to detail as far as the way it would work when it comes to the dinosaur walking. More skin wrinkles and skin folds as you move back here into the rear of the thigh. You can see more of those reddish tones running down the front of the leg, and then some kind of light, almost khaki coloration here for the rear of the thigh, as well as more of those spots and stuff. Really nice coloration added there. As you move down to the rear foot, yet again, you have the nice transition to the dark brown. You've got the very nicely painted nails, again, with that light gray. And then we move up here into the tail, and you can see as we lead from the underside up to the upper side, a very, very smooth transition when it comes to the coloration from that kind of almost like somewhat khaki, kind of light tan coloration up here to the pinkish tones that we have here on the back of the dinosaur. And then as we lead out, something you'll see quite often from Haolonggood, you can see that the tail transitions to a brighter coloration for the tip of the tail, and that as well looks really nice. Very nice curve to the tail as well, not super strong or anything, just a slight curve, but it's elegant enough. And then as we move here along the underside, you see on top of the really nice detail, you see more elements of almost like some slight pinkish tones or reddish tones here and there. You do have a cloaca present, as well as quite a bit of girth here on the underside of our Edmontonia. Definitely a very wide dinosaur. As you lead up, you've got some clusters of scales here moving through the chest of the dinosaur, and then as you lead into the throat, you can see the throat looks really nice. Lots of skin wrinkles and folds and stuff there in the neck and throat region of the Edmontonia. The dinosaur does have its head turned slightly toward its right, as well as kind of a tilt in the head, and that's displayed there when it comes to the way the detail looks on the underside. If we take a look at the opposing side, yet again, perfection when it comes to the paintwork of that eye, as well as just generally the face. I think the face looks really nice as far as the way it's painted. As we move back into that bulky neck, you again see the armored areas, those armored scoots start to pick up, and we have the really nice, consistent to what we had seen on the initial side paintwork up there for those scoots, as well as the spikes and everything leading out here on the side of the dinosaur. You're really not going to see much difference up here on the back of the dinosaur, but down here on the side you can see a difference in the positioning of the legs. Same style of paintwork, same style of sculpt. You can just see that this leg is kind of leading, whereas the opposing leg there was trailing, picking up off of the ground, and over here the rear leg is trailing because the opposing leg was leading. But all the muscle definition, all the skin folds and everything look pretty much exactly as you would like to see them. Very big bulging calf muscle as well. You can see right there as the dinosaur is walking along, and you can see how the toes are picking up off of the ground and leaving the ground. So absolutely the most beautiful Edmontonia I have in my collection. The closest I would say as far as quality would be the Batat version, but the Batat version doesn't even hit the quality of this Haolonggood version. This thing is absolutely beautiful. And then we've got the alternate color variant. As you can see, like I stated at the beginning of the review, they've very nicely dry brushed a lot of the detail out there in the face. That's something you didn't really see on the other one, and I think it looks really quite nice the way that they've done that. But definitely something that, again, the detail's so good it doesn't necessarily need it, but it absolutely adds a little bit of extra flavor to the coloration here. And there's some very nice kind of like bluish tones that we have here for the back of the body here, the upper part of the body. Really nicely highlighted the detail there on the top of the head. And I like how in between the kind of cracks and crevices of the skin texture there, you can see darker tones, while the dry brushing has brought out and lightened the coloration up here on the top of that part of the dinosaur on the top of the head. And then as you lead back here, again, same style of paintwork, similar to what we had seen with the other one. And this is something that they do quite often, where they have just like different tones of color, but the same sort of paint scheme, where we have the same kind of way that they've highlighted all of the detail, nice dry brushing, but they continue to have kind of like those spots and stuff that you see throughout the course of the dinosaur, similar to what we had on the initial version. And then down here for the spikes, you can see we start out with those darker tones and transition to the lighter tones as you lead out, just like we had seen on the initial figure. We also, again, have blue eyes, just like we also saw on the first one. One difference here that you see as you move down, though, as we transition down into the foot, the feet don't get quite as dark as far as the brown hues that we had seen on the initial one, but still darken a bit there, and they look really good. Again, same coloration for the nails, and the same style of paintwork where we have those kind of like bluish tones moving down the front of the leg with the lighter tones leading down the back. And again, all sorts of spots and color variation throughout. The only thing that's really different on this one compared to the other one is how much more they've done as far as like the dry brushing goes. They've definitely brought the detail out quite a bit more on this one when it comes to the dry brushing. Like, look at the scale detail and how nicely it now pops here on the back of the dinosaur, especially out here on the tail. And similar to the other one, we transition to a brighter tone for the tip of the tail, but not quite as bright and not quite as obvious on the upper side as we see on the initial one. But as you move back, again, look at how great of a job they've done when it comes to highlighting all of the scoots, the armored scoots here on the back of the Edmontonia, in such a really nice and very naturalistic way. They really do such a great job when it comes to the paintwork of their models, and you can see the same again for this side, just like we had seen on the initial side. The sculpt is, of course, going to be exactly the same. There are no differences, just that this one is a totally different paint variant. And I wouldn't even say totally different, pretty similar, just different tones. Same style, again, of paint scheme, just different tones of color for the figure, which is cool because, again, it kind of makes it look like it could be part of the same group, just, you know, maybe it's a different sex or just some different variant, again, color version of the dinosaur within the herd. But it looks really beautiful, just like the first one did. As far as a size goes, for a length from the tail to the snout, you are looking at almost 6.5 inches, almost on the dot, maybe a little over, or about 16.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would probably be the back. You can see it's just shy of 2 inches, maybe a little closer to 1.75 inches, or again, just shy of 5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Haolonggood Edmontonia. And you can see these figures are pretty small overall, definitely not any type of a massive figure for sure, but at, 1/35th scale is pretty much where you would expect them to be. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus stepping in here for yet another comparison next to the Edmontonia. We also have the Schleich Diabloceratops, Safari LTD Tyrannus, and Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon here for yet another totally random comparison. We've also got the Haolonggood Nasutoceratops next to the Haolonggood Edmontonia for a comparison between different Haolonggood figures. We've also got the Haolonggood Ouranosaurus here, one of my personal favorites from the Haolonggood line next to the Edmontonia. Then when it comes to similar species released by Haolonggood, we have the Tianzenosaurus next to the Edmontonia. And if you happen to have the Tianzenosaurus, you'll definitely have a pretty good idea, I think, as far as the size of the Edmontonia. Then we have the classic Batat version of the Edmontonia here next to the Haolonggood version. You can very clearly see there is quite a bit of difference in size here, but even though the Haolonggood version is a bit smaller, definitely I would say the superior of the two. And then the final comparison that I have, even though this is actually a prototype of the figure, I do have the actual release here somewhere, but this is the AAA Edmontonia here next to the Haolonggood version, just to give you an idea of a size if you happen to have the AAA version. So this brand new Haolonggood Edmontonia release is yet another home run from them, because I think the sculpt is absolutely gorgeous. There's so much really beautiful detail. Like, easily some of the nicest sculpts I've ever seen from a company have been produced from Haolonggood lately, and this Edmontonia falls right in line with all the others. Gorgeous detail, really vibrant detail, very, very impressive quality on the actual sculpt overall, and showing off pretty much every ounce of detail and movement you would expect to see with skin wrinkles, skin folds, stuff like that. So very, very highly detailed for sure. On top of that, we have gorgeous paint apps, because again, as per usual, you always get two different paint variants of these releases, at the very least, sometimes more, but usually at least two different paint variants, and yet again we do exactly have that here with a really cool kind of a bluish sort of a version, as well as that kind of like pinkish reddish version, and I think both look awesome. Again, they did a very good job of choosing nice naturalistic paint schemes for the figures, something that I don't think is too flashy, because when it comes to a dinosaur like this, I feel like flashiness may not be something you would see a lot of when it comes to the coloration, so they did a great job of choosing coloration and paint schemes where they have a flashy enough look that it grabs your attention without being too flashy that it then looks unrealistic. And of course, the paint apps have been applied really beautifully, and something they did on one of the two of these is something that I was pretty pleased with, and that's the fact that they kind of highlighted the detail of the face with some nice dry brushing. I've been kind of hoping Haolonggood would return back to applying washes to their figures, kind of like they did with the initial release of the Nasutoceratops, and they've done it a few times, but they don't do it as often as I would like, and I feel like it would amp up the detail on a lot of their figures, but the appearance to this one, like specifically with the dry brushing of the face, really helped to highlight the detail. But when you look at the reddish or pinkish version, like that one doesn't really look like it needs it all that much, because the detail is actually just beautiful and really pops on the sculpt enough that it does still look really good even without any sort of like enhancing paint. So again, kudos to Haolonggood for producing such really nicely sculpted figures, but also again beautifully painted. And just simply the fact that it is in Edmontonia is awesome, because we just have so few figures out there of it. I can only think of like 3 off the top of my head, and one of which is the recur version, which I don't own. I'll have to get a hold of at some point. But again, gorgeous sculpt, gorgeous paint, awesome species choice. If you are interested in grabbing these for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that right now on Lana Time Shop, because that is exactly where I purchased mine. So make sure you check that link, go grab this awesome Edmontonia, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.